Hello techies, welcome to the day 11 of my 100 days coding challenge, and today I'll be talking about loops. The looping statement helps us to repeat portions of our codes. For example, we have an array that contains the information of people and we want to distinguish the dates they were born from other informations. We can use the looping method for that. Or for example, we have an array that contains even number and odd number and we just want to distinguish the odd numbers from the even numbers. We can also use looping statements for that. So in other words, we can just simply say that the loop statement is a repetitive statement that allows us to repeat our actions in a better or easier way. In JavaScript, we have different type of looping method. We have the for loop, we have the while loop, the do while loop, the for in loop, the for loop, the for each loop, and so others. These looping method, they essentially do the same thing, like repeating our codes for us. It is important for us to know that loops are made up of three parts. Number one is the initializer, because every loop has to start. It has to have a starting point. This is where you declare a variable and give it a value, that this is where it should be starting from. The second part is the condition. For a loop to run consistently, it needs to be pegged to a condition. A condition has to be met for that loop to run. So the condition is like the path that the loop should run. The third is the update block. Anytime a loop runs, an update is created because it is this part that updates the loop of the happening. Like it keeps the loop informed of what is happening. For example, like telling the loop how many times it's remaining for it to run. So when there's an increment, that increment has to meet the condition. So that's what the update block does. The first looping method I'm talking about today is the for loop, and this is the syntax. You first write for, then you put a parenthesis. The parenthesis will encode the three parts of the looping method I discussed, which is the initialization, the condition, and the update block. Then you put the braces, and this is how you write the for loop syntax. The first example we are going to give is to make a countdown from 1 to 10. So the first thing we are going to do is to initialize. We initialize by declaring the variable. That's to say, let x equal to 0. So we are setting the value of 0 to x. You can use any alphabet for that, but I choose to use x as my variable. Then the second thing is to test, which is the condition. If x is lesser than 10, then that's a condition. If x is lesser than 10, then the update block, which is the increment value, should be there, x plus plus. So with this, we have just initialized, we have just made a statement. That is the theory part of the manipulation, or three part of the looping method. Now I just console.log x, so we'll see this in the console. So go to our browser, check the console. You can see that the countdown started from 0 to 9. The index number will always start from 0. So if you want to have 12, you have to set the condition to 13 and the index to 1. So you see this is giving us 9, 1 to 9, because we set it to 10. So if we set this to 11, we have 10 in the console. The loop will only execute if the condition is true. If the condition is false, the loop will stop running. So if this condition is 12, that's false, the loop will only execute when it gets to 10. Right now, I want to use a string for this. I'll just type hello world, check this in the console, and you see that we have 10. This simply means that the statement was evaluated and executed 10 times. So this is how loop works basically. Once the condition remains true, the loop will run. Once the condition is false, it stops running. So right now we're going to use an if-else statement to see how loop works. I'm going to set a condition using the if-else statement to say if x is equal to 5, there should be a break. I'm going to set a statement here. I'm just going to say break. So it means that this loop is going to run for 4 times. The 5th time it will break. So I'm going to say else console.log hello world. I'm just going to cut this and paste inside the else block. If we go to our console, you see that this loop was executed 4 times. It was not executed the 5th time, so we're going to have 4. So you can see that hello world 4 times there. I'll change this to X so you see this very well. So if I change this to X, go to our console, and you see that it was only executed 4 times. I'll change this now to continue. So when it executes for 4 times, it will skip 5 and continue from 6 because of the condition that we've set. So you see this in the console. 5 was exempted, then it continued from 6 because of our condition. Now I'm just going to take this out, going to comment it rather. Then we're going to use the array methods to see how for loop works in array. I'm going to start by declaring the variable using const. Remember, when we use const, it means that this variable will always be constant. We cannot change the value in it. We cannot change the value that is being assigned to it. So I'm going to write the properties inside. So let's assume that these are students' information, and in this information bracket we have 3 students with their age information and their university information. I'm just going to console.log array because the array is what is holding the informations, the array brackets. So if I console.log this, it will be executed 10 times because the index is starting from 1 and the condition saying that if the variable is lesser than 11. So this was executed 10 times, but this is not what we want. So I'm going to give another condition that says if x is lesser than the array.length. So it's going to be displaying the length of the array, which is 3. And when I open each of the array, you see that the properties are being displayed. Name, age, university. So I open the second one, the same thing. And this is how we loop using the for loop. We initialize, then set a condition, and then the update block, or you call it the increments. You can also call it the initializer, the test, and the increment. So we can also do a decrement operation here also. So this is it for today. Bye.